going to give us a tour of it. And yeah, it's pretty sweet. First off, why'd you go with the Mercedes?
Mainly for the second row seats. I've got 2 kids. Well, at the time we got the van, I have 1 kid. And I was looking at the Transits, and if I bought the Transit, I would have had to get all the seats or none of the seats, and then I'm buying all the seats to take them out. The Dodge doesn't have a factory option with second row seats. And after kind of talking to my insurance company, they said if you install your own seats, it needs to be done by licensed DOT.
Yeah.
Or your car insurance could not cover claims of people in those seats. So with those people in the seats being my children, I was like, I should probably just get that. And it was 2017. Those year they had some import issues coming into 2017, and so there weren't as many of them, but everybody was more hyped for the new stuff that was about to come in. And so I actually got a really good deal on the 2016 and 2017. So yeah, that was the main reason. And I wanted diesel.
Yeah.
I wanted the fuel economy of the diesel.
What do you get? What's your miles per gallon?
Since I've owned it over 45,000 miles, I'm at 19.7 miles a gallon.
That's good.
So, which is pretty good. It's gotten worse since I put the ATs on it. And since I put 2 solar panels on the top, it's also brought it down. I used to get around 21 and a half, but
using the all-terrain tires, you've got more places now with those on there?
Yeah, so the last trip we just took, we just went to George Washington National Forest over in Virginia, and my wife was a little skeptical of a road I was taking us down. I was like, this is why we got the ATs. And it actually did really well. And that was at highway pressure, so if we ever would have gotten a situation that was a little trickier, you can always drop pressure. But yeah, I mean, I'm a little less cautious, which maybe isn't a good thing, because it still is a 9.5 foot tall van, taking it down 4 service roads and whatnot, but haven't had any issues so far. Here. No major modifications. My son or daughter does sleep up here. We've got an inflatable mattress that you can actually get for the back seat of SUVs and vans and stuff, that has little inflatable pillows down at this part, and then it goes across. So this last weekend was the first time we used that. It actually worked out really well. We were pretty skeptical, but it worked. So that's really the front. Not a whole lot going on. The best thing about the Sprinter, in my opinion, is the whole cockpit area is you sit up super high. The windshield is massive. It's the biggest HD TV you could ever have. So yeah, nothing fancy up there. And then the build out, this is kind of the 3rd revision of it. I've done it myself. No real carpenter skills or building skills. I mean, I had a home, so I've been used to working on my house and whatnot, but no crazy set of skills. I think that's kind of part of the fun thing, and that's why I love it so much, is you got to wing it, and at the end of the day, it's just lumber. I did almost put a hole in the outside while building out the first time. Since then, there hasn't been any issues.
How many times are you gonna measure before you put those solar panels on?
So the panels they're actually on the rails, the roof rails. So that one wasn't as stressful. Now putting the hole in the roof where I ran the wires through it, that was a little stressful. And cutting the hole for the fan back there, that was definitely the most stressful thing I've ever done, because I did that 1 month after I'd bought it, and cutting a 12 by 12 hole in the most expensive thing you've ever bought is pretty stressful. But yeah, so second row seats, kids sit back here, little footrest over there for my son so he can get in and out of his chair. And then I actually built a little table for him that mounts over here.
Nice.
So he's able to just chill, play with his books and his toys while we're driving. That's turned out to be one of the most useful last minute things that I built for the van. Some fans up here, and then the cabinets were probably the hardest thing that I've built, but it ended up being a little easier than I thought it was going to be once you kind of figure out where you're going to mount them. Everything's mounted to all the bigger bolts you see, all of these. There are riv nuts in the frame of the van that I installed, so everything's kind of mounted to that. So it's easy to take everything in and out. I could gut this thing in 2 hours.
Wow.
So cabinets all the way back. That was the last summer edition, and that worked out really nice. All the clothes, a lot of our food, toiletries, stuff like that stay up there, and keeps everything kind of separated between the stuff that leaves the van and goes to campsites or used for riding, and then all the stuff that kind of stays in the van and needs to stay clean goes up there. And then back here we've got the fridge. This is actually a local Kentucky company called Truck Fridge, and if anybody is looking to ever build out a van, I would highly suggest looking at the Truck Fridge brand. They import them from a higher end company in Italy. If you are van people, then Isotherm is probably a company you've heard of. Isotherm fridges are super expensive. This is an Isotherm fridge with lower end finishes, so like same compressor and stuff. It's really nice, lots of room, and it's got a little mini freezer in there, so yeah, it's pretty huge. We had a smaller one, and then once we had a second kid and all the milk and all that stuff, it filled up too pretty quickly. We could only have like 1 day's worth of food in there, so that we can fit pretty much a 4-day weekend worth of food and beverage in that thing and not have to worry about anything. So yeah, so that's mostly the front area. Around back, again, pretty simple, nothing too crazy. Fits one bike inside. I do have a swinging hitch mount that fits 2 more bikes, so usually the bikes that are going are my mountain bike, and then my gravel bike and my wife's road bike. And then under here, this is built to house our Thule Chariot that the kids get in, so we can hop on the gravel bikes and road bikes and kind of cruise around campsite and wherever we are. These shelves change out for whatever we're using at the time. Day-to-day life, it's usually a tote full of mountain bike stuff, some mountain bike parts, my tool bag, too many helmets. I don't know why I have so many helmets. And then then bed up here. The bed is 2 platforms that comes completely out. The mattress is 2 pieces. It's just a foam mattress. It's not the most comfortable thing. It's actually gonna be the upgrade of the year. This year is gonna be new mattress, and we're gonna lower the bed a little bit lower, because now that our daughter is walking and crawling, she really wants to get down off the bed. So it's pretty high and she can't do that. So we're gonna lower the bed a little bit more, do a little slight redesign this winter.
So you only got about what, an inch so you could lower it?
Yeah, so my wife's bike will actually live in here, her road bike, and she's like 5'2", so her bike's pretty small. So that one actually will go in here, and my bike will end up going out on the rack.
Getting pushed out.
Yeah. I know. But it's in a smaller van. We only have so much space that we can hang out, and the bed's the one place we can hang out really. And so with it being so high, and it's like both of our kids still nap, so we're not really comfortable like leaving them up on a bed 3.5-4 feet off the ground, and then like leaving and walking out of the van and hanging out by the campsite. And our daughter sleeps in that at night, so she goes down at 8, so it's kind of like somebody has to keep checking on her and be in here, so it's a little stressful having it up that high.
For a 4-person family, it does all right though.
It's super tight.
Yeah.
We did a 17-day road trip last year.
Wow.
My daughter was only 6 months old at the time though, so she couldn't move. So that was fine, and she stayed up on top. We didn't have to worry about her rolling off. It is very tight. If this wasn't my daily driver, which it is, I would most definitely get the 170. And I'll probably sell this thing in a couple of years, get a beater for myself for a daily driver, and then get a 170. Especially with some of the newer models they've got coming out, they do have a gasoline option now, so I might go back to gasoline. I don't know, but more size, mainly just for being able to hang out. Like, you can sleep everybody in there, and you can fit all your crap, but it's like if you're camping and the weather's atrocious, or maybe you're running behind and you got to sleep in a Walmart parking lot or something like that, and you want to wake up in the morning and you have no place to make breakfast. Like, nothing in our current setup. So just for having a little more flexibility.
I like this.
Yeah, so that was a last summer edition. You kind of swing the arm all the way out. This guy loosens up, comes out. So yeah, again, this is just more of like the rib nuts that I put in the door. Had to do a little trimming on the plastic, but I think the toughest thing was being okay with modifying like fixed items.
Yeah.
In the beginning, like I wouldn't have dreamt of like cutting stuff and moving stuff around, and now I'm just like, oh, I'll just cut that out. Oh, I'll just get rid of that. I don't need that. But yeah, it's sweet. We love it. It's totally like changed our lives for the most part. I mean, we always kind of did the same stuff and did a lot of camping. Had a Subaru. We always get somewhere at like 1 a.m. set up camp and trying to keep the first kid asleep while I'm setting up a tent and getting everybody out of the car and into the tent. It was just going down to Asheville all the time, leaving Friday after work. It kind of became annoying, so we were looking at rooftop tents and a 4Runner, and once I started calculating how much money I was spending on gas and a rooftop tent, 4Runner cost, which really isn't that much cheaper than a Sprinter van. My wife and I went out to Yosemite 2017 in the winter, and we rented a van from a place that you could rent them in San Francisco, and we drove down to Yosemite, and my whole thing was like, if she loves this, it's going to be a lot easier for me to tell her I want to get a van. So she loved it. It was just her and I for like 4 days in the valley, and she was like, this van, I love this, this is so great. I was like, would you ever want to get one? She was like, yeah, I think it would be great. She was like, as long as you're okay with driving it every day. Like, I don't care, I've always wanted a van.
All right, so I'll keep that in mind, because my girlfriend knows I'm kind of looking.
Yeah. Just go rent one.
Yeah.
Like, go take a camping trip and rent one. Find out how practical it is. Like, we rented like an Econoline. You couldn't stand up in. She was like, it'd be really nice if we could stand up. I'm like, works for me.
Yeah.
So.
Have you ever checked out the social media? I don't know if they're on Facebook, on Instagram, called Far Out Ride. So
yeah,
they're out of British Columbia.
I don't follow them on social, but they have a blog.
Yeah. And they break down everything.
Yeah, so some of like their bed platform stuff I read. I think it might have been their tutorial on the van install that I followed. Yeah, and that's the thing. It's like there's so many resources out there for building a van. There's stuff that you can do. But the biggest thing is everybody's build is different. There is not a single person that has the same exact build. So you got to figure out what's going to work for you, and you're going to go through trial and error. That's why for right now, I've used rough lumber. Haven't done anything super intense because I know I'm going to keep changing, especially with a growing family.
Yeah.
So I didn't want to do anything super solid that I knew I couldn't remove. But
I'm just go around here real quick.
Yeah.
What is the height on this thing?
With the fan, it's like 9 foot 5 inches. So up top, I do have 2 100-watt solar panels, which we can poke in. The battery's kind of hidden, but 2 100-watt solar panels, which run the fridge, charging anything that you may or may not need. I can run like a small compressor off of it if I need to. I had 100 watts for a long time, and that was good enough, but like if we were to be somewhere and maybe it rains all day one day and we didn't get any sun, I'd get dangerously low on like the second day. So with the 100 watts, like it boosts. I mean, and I have like a new converter that amplifies the solar. The battery you can't really see, but I have a Goal Zero set up kind of back here on one of the shelves. It's definitely a little more of a, you overpay.
Yeah.
They're way overpriced. For sure, you can build something way more capable for way less money, but I can take that out and move it anywhere I want. It's not a fixed feature. I've carried it to camp, and we've used it for certain things. That, like, I brought like my coffee maker, and I'll take that down. Like, we've got to park somewhere else, and I'll take the coffee maker down, and we'll make coffee.
Nice.
So it has its perks.
For somebody who, let's say, they've already kind of tested one out and they're trying to get it, they're set on getting one, what's some advice you would give to them?
I mean, I would read a lot. There's a lot of really good resources. I do a lot of reading. I would keep your first couple builds cheap, and not like do anything crazy set in stone. And I mean, like, we made a checklist of like what what do we definitely want, what do we not care about, and what's kind of in the middle. And that list has changed every year we've had the van. So like that's why I like that it's pretty modular and we can continue to modify things. And like don't get pissed when you do something wrong. Like you're gonna mess something up.
You're learning.
Yeah, and it's just gonna make it next time you do it, it's gonna make it better. And like I know the next time that I gut all of this and I redo it and lower the pad, like it's gonna look better. It's gonna, I mean, it's already pretty quiet, but it's gonna be more quiet, solid. So yeah.
What about you got an awning coming out?
Yeah, so that's a homemade awning. That is about $80. It's a tarp, some telescoping tent poles that I got from like a Gander Mountain store, or maybe it was like Field and String or Cabela's. They make these telescoping ones. So I got conduit pipe, made my own hinges, and mounted them to the telescoping poles, and it works great. And I made my own mounts to put it in the factory roof rails, but you got to climb up on the roof to get it up and down. And so it's like if it's already raining, it's kind of a big to do.
Yeah.
But it works. It's just kind of a pain in the butt to set up. So if you're going to be in the same campsite for a couple of days, like we go to Stokesville, we don't leave the campsite for a few days so I can ride my bike in and out. We don't really drive anywhere. So for those applications, we'll roll it out. And yeah, it's nice. I do want to get a nice one, but man, they're expensive. Like you're gonna spend $1,500 on an awning that you don't have to like climb up on the roof to lower. So that's one thing that I wish one of these in the new van era that's not like RV centric. I wish there was a brand coming out with some stuff that built an awning that was just a little bit more practical for like a rougher setup.
Right.
Like, I don't need a crazy fancy awning, but I also don't want to have to climb up on the roof in the rain. So.
Well, hey man, thanks for showing us your van.
Yeah, thanks for taking the tour. If you ever see me at the bottom of DeVille, there's usually beer in the fridge, so you can come and maybe I'll feed you a beer.
Sounds good, man.